For it is God who works in you, both to will and to work for his good pleasure. Philippians chapter 2, verse 13. We have come a long way. 10 chapters back, we began with an uncomfortable confession that we are frighteningly good at fabricating a Jesus of our own making and never knowing we have done it. And we set out on a long road to find the real one. We walked the whole of it. Adam, Noah, Abraham, Moses, Israel, David, and at last, around the final bend, to face itself. A genuinely human mind that received everything from his Father and made up nothing. The mind of Christ. And the road ended on a promise that changes everything. That Jesus does not merely show us that mind like a trophy behind glass, but gives it. We have the mind of Christ, Paul dared to write. The clean heart David begged for, and the new heart God promised Israel had been pointing here all along. Which leaves exactly one question, and it is the most personal in the book. How? How does his mind actually become mine? That is what the rest of these chapters are for. We are done walking. This is the workshop. Before we pick up a single tool, one thing must be set straight at the door, for if we get it wrong, everything past this point goes wrong with it. A workshop is a place where something is made, or mended, or remade. And the instant one hears the word, something in us reaches for the tools. Right? Show me the technique. Give me the 5 steps, the reading plan, the discipline, and I will build myself a better mind. That instinct feels like devotion. It is in fact the oldest mistake in this book, wearing an apron. For here is the truth the whole workshop runs on. You are not the craftsman. You are the thing on the bench. Your mind is the object of the work. God is the one who does the work. And the blueprint is the mind of Christ. We are his workmanship, Paul says, and the word he chooses means the very thing a maker makes, his handiwork, his craft. He who began a good work in you will bring it to completion. He began it, he will finish it. And, most bluntly of all, it is God who works in you, both to will and to work for his good pleasure. God working in you, not you working up a God of your own, out of your opinions, and a collection of what I think. We have already watched what happens when this is forgotten. It was the whole turn of David's story. The man who, caught red-handed, at last stopped trying to manage himself and prayed, "Create in me a clean heart, O God." Because a clean heart is precisely the one thing a person cannot manufacture. Try harder, do more, believe harder is, as we saw, the fake. One cannot be the broken thing and the repairman at the same time, and the hand that needs mending cannot mend itself. Self-made religion has a telling quirk in this regard. One can keep adjusting it, tweaking it, trading it for a fresh set of opinions like new clothes, swapping one congregation for another on the same impulse, or simply tiring of the whole exhausting project and quitting, walking back into the world as though the self-made thing had been real Christianity and one were now finished with it. If that stings the pride a little, let it. But then feel the relief beneath it, for the relief is enormous. The pressure was never on you to manufacture a clean heart, for the plain reason that you could never have managed it in the first place. It is Israel at Sinai, swearing to do all that the Lord commanded, and, in nearly the next breath, fashioning a calf. You do not have to be good enough at this. You are never the craftsman. Therefore, you may relax. Climb up onto the bench, and let the one whose work this is do it. This is not an arbitrary arrangement. It is forced by the shape of the disease, and grasping why is the doctrinal heart of the entire book. Return to the very first problem we named. The counterfeit mind is invisible from the inside. The instrument one would use to check one's self, one's own thinking, is the very instrument that is bent. One cannot audit the counterfeit by means of the counterfeiter. No amount of soul-searching repairs a broken searcher. Which means the help simply cannot come from inside you. Not because looking inward is wicked, but because it is useless for this particular task, like trying to see the back of your own head without a mirror. The repair has to come from outside. This is the thesis on which everything in this movement stands. and it is also the precise point at which the whole project is the structural inverse of the ancient counterfeit that shares its name. The Gnostic counsel is to look within and awaken a knowledge already latent in the self. The Gospel's counsel is the reverse. The self is exactly what cannot be trusted, and the mind must be received from outside it. The craftsman who made humanity to be his image-bearers therefore reaches for tools that are outside you, but can work in you. For he alone sees, knows, and holds the plans, the blueprint developed and proven in Jesus. He works with three and uses three on purpose, so that no single one of them ever has to be trusted alone. The first is the Word, but not the Word read through one's local, modern context and opinions. Rather, the Word read in its own ancient world, and not as a mirror that reflects one's assumptions back. Most of us were handed a Bible and, without ever intending to, learn to read our own premises out of it. The craftsman uses it the other way, cutting against what we already believed in the language and world its first hearers actually inhabited. That tool has its own chapter, the next one. The second is the Spirit, and this is the one that does the deep work. The same living mind of God that formed the perfect filial mind in Jesus, given to us a measure at a time, to reshape us from within. Not a vague force, not one's own voice in a more solemn register, a real other at work in the room. The third is the others, the body. The mind of Christ never comes down to any one of us whole. It is distributed across a whole people, and the blind spots I cannot, by definition, see are exactly the places where another can see for me. Personal, yes. Private, never. Three tools. And note, three witnesses, not three mirrors. Each one alone can be bent, faked, or misread. But where the Word in its own world, the living Spirit's leading, and the body's many eyes all converge, one has a signal one can lean a full weight upon, as Abraham leaned, in a way one never could lean on one's own intuition. But one does not drift into this workshop by accident, nor altogether in private. Though one may begin in private, the door opens onto a shared and public space, the church. There's a door, and one walks through it on purpose. We gave a whole chapter to it already, the changing of kings, the undivided allegiance pledged to the king. And here is why that entry must come first. You do not reason your way into a new mind and then decide to follow Jesus. It runs in the opposite direction entirely. You hand yourself over, and then the new mind comes. Paul sets the order down with great care. Present your bodies as a living sacrifice. There is the surrender, and be transformed by the renewal of your mind. Offering first, new mind second. One does not reason one's way onto the workbench. One climbs up and lies down upon it, gives oneself to the King, and from inside that surrender the work upon the heart begins. So, if you're not the craftsman, is there then nothing left for you to do? Are you merely inert wood? No, there is exactly one thing for you to do, and it is far harder than it sounds. Stay on the bench. Stay near the tools. Keep yourself where the Word is read in its own ancient world, where the living Spirit moves, where the body can actually reach you and tell you the truth. And this is the difficult part. Stay soft under the craftsman's hand, willing to be cut, to be planed, to be told you were wrong about something of which you were entirely certain, only to discover it was your own self-made opinion. The temptation, always, is to climb down off the bench and retreat to one's own garage, to fix oneself in private, where no opinion-born tool one owns can actually reach the place that needs the work. That is the rhythm of everything ahead, and none of its three motions is try harder. It is an asking, create in me a clean heart, the prayer of one who knows he cannot. It is a trusting that the one who began the work will finish it. And it is a staying near the source's pliable day after unspectacular day. These disciplines are not techniques by which one manufactures a new mind. They are simply the practice of staying near the one who does. The difference between try harder and stay near is very nearly the whole of this movement. One honest word before we begin, for the book promised long ago never to sell a foolproof machine. Every one of these tools can be abused or misused. The word can be twisted, the spirit can be counterfeited, the body can lose its corporate mind, and in a dark enough hour, all three at once. If that should ever befall you, hear this. Your safety was never in the tools. It was always in the craftsman. The one who runs this workshop has never, in any age, lost a soul that stayed hungry for him, and he has a way of steering the hungry back to where the work can reach them again. The bench is safe not because the tools cannot be faked, but because of whose hands hold them. We are done walking. We are now made ready to be worked upon. You cannot remake your own mind, and the relief that runs under this whole book is that you were never asked to. You were asked to climb onto the bench, stay near the tools, and stay soft under the hand of the one who knows exactly what is in the making. The craftsman has been at this a very long time, and he finishes what he starts. So, let's put the first tool into view. Or rather, let us watch him take it up and use it. It is the oldest tool in the shop, a book. But a book read in a way most of us were never taught to read it, heard in its own world, where it stops being a self-made mirror of our own opinions and becomes a blade.